In this activity video, we'll be creating a program that works with tuples, and it will demonstrate how you can use them to organize your code. So let's hop into Visual Studio Code and get started. Once Visual Studio Code is loaded, navigate to your Activities directory, your src/bin directories, and load up the a9.rs file since we're on Activity 9. Double-click. Once the activity file loads, review the topic and program requirements. As with other activities, attempt to implement a solution on your own with the video paused. Once completed, resume the video and I will demonstrate my implementation as well as provide some insights to the activity topic. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. As we can see, our topic for Activity 9 is data management using tuples. Our program requirements are to print out whether the y value of a Cartesian coordinate is greater than 5, less than 5, or equal to 5. Our notes for this activity: we must use a function that returns a tuple. We want to destructure the return value into two variables. And we want to use an if, else block to determine what should be printed. So when I start my programs, I always like to copy the notes into the program. So I'll copy those in so I have something to work with. So the first note states that we need to use a function to return a tuple. So we know we're working with Cartesian coordinates. So I'm going to name my function coordinate. And it's not going to have any input parameters. And we're just going to return a tuple as indicated by the note. And it's going to be 32-bit integer return values in a tuple. And it doesn't state what the coordinate should be, but we do know that we're dealing with just the y value. So I'm going to do mine greater than 5, and then I'll change it later just to make sure everything works. So I'll have the first value be 1, that's the x value, and then the y value, I'll set it to 7. So this tuple will get returned as a tuple with two 32-bit integers. Next, I'm going to hop into the main function, and we need to destructure the return value into two variables. So we need two variables. So we use our let binding, and then we have x and y will be my variables. Remember, to destructure, we use the parentheses when we're creating our variables. Next, I'm going to call the coordinate function to get my tuple. So when I call the function, this tuple is going to get returned here and placed into the x and y variables. Next, we need to use an if, else block to determine what to print. This is similar to a previous activity where we use this similar style to print different messages. So if the y value, remember, we only are concerned with the y value. If the y value is greater than 5, then we're just going to print out greater than 5. And then if the y value is less than 5, we're going to print out less than 5. And finally, if it's not greater than or not less than 5, it must be equal to 5. So we're just going to print out equal 5. And so that should cover the program requirements, where it prints out if it's greater than, less than, or equal to 5. And we also use the if block as seen here. I also noticed that I just missed the if, so I'll add that in. And now it should be complete and run properly. So before we run the program, let's just walk through it really quick. We're creating two variables by destructuring the return value of coordinate. So the coordinate function is going to return a tuple, 1, 7, as two 32-bit integers. Each one then goes into the appropriate variables. We then ignore this x value because we're only concerned with the y value. We then check to see if it's greater than 5. If so, we print this. If it's less than 5, we print this. And if it's equal to 5, which would cover the else, we'll print out equal to 5. Let's run this and make sure it works. I'm going to go to Terminal, new terminal. I'm going to run this with cargo run -q --bin. We are on activity 9, so A9. And hopefully everything runs as expected. As we can see, we get a message that prints out. It indicates greater than 5. Our y coordinate is 7, and so it's working properly. Let's change this y value to 1, and just to make sure it prints out less than 5 when it actually is less than 5. I'll rerun it, and here we can see it printed out less than 5. And just for completeness, I'll set it to 5, and it should print out equal to 5. And here we have equal to 5, so the program is properly working. This concludes the video on this demo. I'll see you in the next presentation.